Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
Please click on the subscribe button, the like button, all of those buttons. There's buttons everywhere. You can touch any of them. It'd be great. Thank you. Wow. I get up early in the morning, and partially because the older you get, the less you can sleep in. But I've always been up early. But I got up this morning, took care of some stuff. It was kind of chilly this morning. It's 41 degrees. I live up in the foothills, but it was kind of chilly. So I put on a little heavier shirt, but still wore shorts, of course, because that's just me. But so I've put on my headset to go out and go for a walk with my dog, which I do every morning, and get a little exercise. Turn on Fox News, and Trump is on, and he's talking about Iran. He's talking about the election. He's talking about a bunch of stuff. We'll get into that today. The negotiator is in the house. That's what I'm going to say right now. It was kind of fascinating to listen to this show this morning, because the folks on Fox Morning, they literally couldn't stop him from talking. He's never going to run out of things to say. He's never going to have a problem with telling you what he's thinking. He's never going to overall, he's never going to lie to you, except for when they ask a stupid question and he's not going to answer it. And he's going to tell you something else, because guess what? He's not going to let out what's going to be done next, for an example, in Iran. So it was interesting this morning, but it really was. So it's the Trump personality. We'll get to that today. War Powers Act, the Democrats, and we'll get into it, but we're going to show you how stupid these Democrats are. And when I say stupid in this respect. They know better. It's like the press got it wrong. When I hear somebody say that the press got it wrong, they didn't get it wrong. They got it exactly the way they wanted it, because they wanted to tell a story. And the story had to be different from what Trump says. That's the way it works. So here's the real point, I guess. And that is that as long as you're going to continue to tell the story that you want to tell, Trump is going to say, no, this is BS. And as long as they tell those stories that people only watch the other news networks that are constantly telling us story instead of the story, they're going to be indoctrinating everybody. And we're going to see that today. It's really pretty crazy. Act Blue, which is, I think, the number one, as far as I can tell, the number one fundraiser for the Democrats. But there be some problems going on. So we'll get into that. And then there's a few other things. Mayor Bass, she won the right to be in the election in November. And of course, ramen noodles got in over Spencer Platt. Nobody can come up with any proof, really, about what might have been changed. Was it a illegal election? I don't know, but you sure are suspicious when you see these things happen. because he was way in the lead of ramen noodles. And guess what? All of a sudden, she's the number 2 person and going to be in the election. I mean, come on, man. As our friend Joe said, come on, man. So we're gonna cover those things. Then I'll show you the dumbest person on the planet that actually got elected into office. We'll have that, and a great short little video at the end of the show today, showing you it doesn't matter how old you are, you can be a star. No matter who you are, you can be a star. Yeah, baby. Yeah. So let's roll back all the way back to the beginning of the show here. And again, do me a favor, please click on the like button, click on subscribe, help build this show up. I'd appreciate it. So Trump got his little thing going this morning with the morning crew on Fox News. And they brought him on to talk about what's going on in Iran. And of course, and it's not Iran, please, people. So he's talking about that. And Brian made the mistake of asking him about the election and votes, and he got on and off tangent because that's what he does. You know, he says he weaves, he does weave, but he's got about as much attention span as I've got. You know, it's a squirrel, and off we go. But it was pretty funny, pretty fascinating. And they kept trying to kind of interrupt him to move him on and get him back on place, and it just wasn't working. So we'll get into that in a minute. But you know, I'm fascinating watching, and the more you do a show like this, the more you always get into a spot where you start realizing that, first of all, you go into there's no hope. Okay, just no hope. And then after you go through the no hope phase, you realize that there is hope. You realize, for an example, I showed you yesterday, I showed you the young lady that was talking about how she's realizing that all of these news sources, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MS Now, a lot of these websites and podcasts, they're not telling you what's really happening. And so she did a little research and she went, wait a minute, this isn't matching up. And she said, you know, she made the comment that, you know, it's making me go to the Republican side. And I just had a phone call with a very close and dear friend of mine, and we were talking about it's hopeless. And I said, no, it's not. It's not hopeless. You know, you get the Trump situation and everybody beats on Trump. And then you get somebody like Tim Kaine, which I'm going to show you in a little bit here. You know, he's going to get the Wars Act and he's going to stop Trump and we're going to pull out of Iran. And we'll talk about how stupid that is. But we're at a turning point, USA. We're at a definite turning point. And the turning point is this. If there's ever been a time where the change has to happen, not necessarily from the older people or we'll call them true Republicans, it's going to be from those folks that are younger folks, the ones that are really more involved in all of the stuff that goes on day in and day out, and they watch it, and finally they go, wait a minute, no, I don't think that's quite right. And then they've got a problem. So Trump this morning talking about what he's going to do next, and you know what he's going to do next on TV, and when he talks about it, as opposed to what's really happening, what will really go on. You know, it's pretty hard to imagine that they're going to do what he says on TV. But I think Trump is right on the verge of blowing these people up. And Carg Island is one of the big pieces of this. Because if you can imagine, trying to think of something, let's talk about shopping. Imagine if Amazon just went away. Now, that wouldn't cause all of us to go broke if Amazon went away, but it would be a devastation to a lot of people that say, "Yeah, we need that," and it shows up today. I mean, I don't live in the city, and yet I can order something right now. Some things, not everything. I can order something, and at 4 o'clock this afternoon, it's here. I mean, by the time I get done with my show and I drive down to a store to get something, it's going to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon anyway, and they don't charge me shipping. Well, let's go to Carg Island now. If Carg Island gets overtaken by America, and then the Iranian people are in real trouble, but the government is screwed. And I say when the Iranian people are in real trouble, they are, because they're going to be the victims. You know, that's the point we all forget about. There's victims in everything that happens in war. And usually, unless it's just certain death, it's the people. It's not the warriors that are making it happen. It's the on the ground military people from whatever side that pays the ultimate price in most cases, except for what Trump's done with Iran and other places. He and the military are brilliant in that respect. So this is what Trump was talking about. It's a little over a minute long, and he was discussing Carg Island. He was discussing Iran, and then he got into a little bit of election stuff. But watch this.
The fake news is out there saying, wow, Iran is doing just so well. Trump is doing terribly. I watched it yesterday, one of the shows for 5 minutes. Haven't seen the show in a long while. This fake Joe Scarborough talking about how well Iran is doing. I'm saying, where do they come from? It's just the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, I will tell you, they won't even dispute it, although they probably would, because it makes sense. They're very good. Iran is very good at publicity, but they're not good at fighting.
So
But I took a look, and I must tell you, they can't believe the press they're getting. They can't even believe it.
Yeah.
And they told me, they said, it's amazing how well we're doing in the papers. We're not doing so well. They're negotiating with us to make a deal.
well, Mr.
It's
President,
hard for them because they are proud. They're very proud.
we
They've
know
been
that.
the bully. They've been the bully of the Middle East for 47 years.
Yeah, they have.
They've been ripping off our presidents and other countries for years. They played Obama for a fool. The JCPOA is one of the worst deals I've ever seen, other than NAFTA, the NAFTA trade deal, which was maybe the worst deal ever made.
Mr. President,
But the JCPOA was a road to a nuclear weapon. Mine is a road to no nuclear weapon.
Right.
They can't have a nuclear. It says you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
He's been very clear. There's not going to be any nuclear weapon. But Carg Island, like I say, if you take Carg Island away from Iran, they're in serious financial trouble. Now, he also mentioned during the interview, and I don't like to show 40 bazillion pieces of Trump because people get tired of seeing it, honestly. But here's my point. He's talking about the thousands, the tens and hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil that are getting through the straits, and they're getting through the Hormuz Strait by the military, the Navy, protecting these vehicles to come through. If they're not legal, they're getting stopped. And they're going to do everything they can to allow fuel to come through. Last time I looked this morning, we were just short of going into $89 a barrel. Now, that's not as low as they want to be, but we were over $100 a barrel. And so things are coming down, and they're coming down because people believe this is coming to an end. An end meaning this whole process of getting all of the people in line, being able to get the ships through, making it safe for the transporters of oil, because most of this oil doesn't come to us. It goes to Europe. It goes all over the world, but most of it doesn't come to us because we've got our own oil. We got more oil than we know what to do with. except for, of course, the communist state of California, who gets 80% of their oil from somebody else, even though their reserves are massive, and they've got a lot of oil. It's just the way they are. It's the stupidity. So, to that point, here's the thing. You can say all you want about Cargill or Iran or the war, and Trump says the war is over. You could argue that. If you're against him, you're going to say it's not. If you're for him, you're going to say yes, it is. I mean, he's in a negotiation stage. That's what it is. So before I talk about the negotiation, I want to show you how stupid Chuck Schumer is. This was I can't remember. I think this was it doesn't matter. This was a story. Chuck Schumer was speaking in front of a camera because he can't resist it. Look at this. Schumer blasts Trump's disastrous plan to take over Iran's Karg Island. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer blasted the president, calling the U.S. to take over Iran's Karg Island on Thursday being a disaster. Schumer made the statement while speaking on the Senate floor, calling the war in Iran a fiasco. On Iran for weeks, Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Marco Rubio have insisted their disastrous war in Iran is over. How stupid do they think the American people are? Well, it is over. We're done shooting at people. This morning, Trump said he plans to take Karg Island, which could even mean putting American boots on the ground, Schumer said. It doesn't take a military genius to see that Trump's fiasco of a war with Iran never ended. Not with American helicopters being shot down. Not when American bases, he's repeating himself, are being attacked by American troops, are coming under fire, Schumer said. Schumer said. Well, guess what? First of all, Trump can do whatever he wants to at this point because there's no military, air support, Navy, anything with Iran. The guy's trying to negotiate something. And honestly, I think it's just a matter that they can't let Trump win. Because if they do, they're screwed totally. If Trump gets the job done complete to the point where it needs to be completely finished, it's complete, they've got a big problem. And that is the same as George W. Bush with the attack on the Twin Towers and him going in and going after the enemy. You look at Reagan, what he did. It creates a roll towards the Republicans, and they know it, and they can't have it happen. So they're going to do everything they can to stop it. This is scary, but that's what they want to do. They want to create a fear for everybody that this is never going to end. By the way, it's a few months. Vietnam War that I lived through was 17 years. 17 years. And it, by the way, was never called a war. It was a police action. But a lot of you young folks don't know that because you're not taught that. The Vietnam War, I mean, it just sounds ridiculous. It was a police action. They never declared a war. The War Powers Act hadn't gone into place yet, but they called it a police action. They wanted to cover that up. That started in the Kennedy days, long early, even during Eisenhower, when they sent people in as a police action to get involved in that. And then it just blew up in multiple ways. And then we got weak. And then we walked away. And we embarrassed our country. And we didn't support the people that we were fighting for 17 years. And the good people that died, including some of my friends that came home in bags. That wouldn't have had to happen if we would have just gotten the job done. And I'm the first to admit that I'm not fully on board with this negotiation process, knowing what these Iranian crazy people do and how they act. But Tim Kaine, our buddy Tim Kaine, he says he's just one vote short, just one vote short of being able to get ourselves a War Powers Act and get Trump to get out of Iran. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. This getting rid of the war, pulling out. Right now, the idea of pulling out of Iran is nothing short of insane. First of all, we know this. We know that every time we do a ceasefire, the Iranians are, not the Iranians, but the Iranian government is rebuilding. They're building more drones. They're building more weapons. They're getting more missiles. They're getting missile silos taken care of so they can use them again. That's what they do, because the only thing they know is hate, kill America, and just blow everybody up. So we go in and we blow them up a little bit more, and whatever they've got left, they go after people in the Middle East. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Forget about it, but Israel. Don't forget about it. But it's not just Israel. Some of them are supposedly their allies. And they don't make any sense because all they know is war. War. Just, how's your day today? You get punched in the face. They just want war. So the negotiations that I was talking about and the attempt to negotiate is a big deal with this. And it's really not a point of how do we negotiate it as much as who's negotiating. Here's what I mean. And, and I don't want to talk a lot about me. I usually don't talk about me. I've spent my life in negotiations. I've made many massive deals, business deals, purchasing companies. Most companies I've bought had run their businesses in the ground, and they didn't know what to do. And we worked out a deal that made it work for them and worked for us. And here's what I know about, and by the way, I'm not claiming I'm as good as Donald Trump is. And I've worked with some other people in major corporations that are amazing negotiators. Here's what happens with negotiators. You get wrapped up in the negotiation process. You lose sight of the end goal sometimes. That's why whenever I went in to negotiate something, I had a guy with me that I always knew would be one that kind of would pull me back on track. Because what happens when you're negotiating, you start thinking that it's the Stockholm syndrome. You start kind of thinking about what they're thinking about and what they're going to go through by that change or that transition. And then you get off track. And right now, first of all, Trump doesn't like wars. Number two, Trump doesn't want to kill a bunch of Iranian residents. And we know that the Iranians are using their people to shelter themselves. Everybody knows that. That's what they did during the Israeli war. That's what they've done in Afghanistan. That's what they did. That's what they did in Vietnam. That's what has always been done. These disgusting people do these things. And it really is a frightening sight to see these kind of things happen. So when you really boil it down, Trump is in this mode of, I know I can make this work. We got to get these guys to sit down and talk, but he doesn't have the right decision makers. And I don't know that anybody knows who the right decision makers are. because we've blown up most of them. And the ones that we didn't blow up, well, guess what? They don't know what to do. So that's one piece. The other piece is there's never been a time where what they said is what they're going to do. So I differ a bit with Trump in that, the idea that we're going to get them to sign an agreement, it's kind of like a divorce or let's use the divorce as an example. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. And then whichever person is guilty of being the ones that they do the things you can't do, they just do them because they lose their minds. Child support, which is one of the ugly things, and the visitation thereof. And you don't get your visitation, so you lose your mind over it. I went through that. And you're just like, what's going on here? Well, if you don't keep your head screwed on, you're going to do something stupid. Well, these Iranian warriors, and that's all they are, is warriors. They're not a government. It's hate to America, first of all. America must die. That's what they say. That's what they believe. That's what they want. So a signed paper doesn't mean anything. So what do? In my opinion, sadly, they're going to have to take out a lot of people. Just what it is. They're going to have to take out a lot of people. And when they do, when that finally happens, I got to tell you, I wonder, to many sources, to many situations, who are going to be the innocents that's going to be suffering from this? And therein lies the real problem. How do we get past this? I don't know. I really don't. We'll find out. So I want to take a quick break here. When we come back, I want to get into this whole fraud issue. And there's so much of the fraud aspect that it's just crazy. But it's important that we remember, we keep in mind that there's never been a time where we could or couldn't make ourselves do the right thing by thinking it through and not have idiots like Chuck Schumer. That's where it lies. So can we get there? Can we get past it? We'll find out, and we'll find out pretty soon. Actually, let's go to this fraud. Where do you start with this? The fraud problem is more than everybody knows. And here's what I mean by that. You hear about fraud in Minnesota. You hear about fraud in California. You've heard a little bit about the fraud that's going on in Ohio. I think it'd be fair to say there's fraud in somewhere close to 50 states by somebody, somewhere, somehow. Because the problem with government, and I'm going to give you an example, not that it's fraud, but how easy it is to happen. I'm a retired firefighter. And, the way fire departments operate is through taxes and through grants and through fundraisers that you do. A fire department across the highway from us, they have a program. They do a big pancake breakfast and get massive money. They do it once a year, big, huge revenue that comes in from that. And so, when I was in the upper ranks and we'd say, well, we got the money. Let's just do this and let's do that. And I go, well, wait a minute, do we need this? And the reason I said that was my opinion was, or my thought was, wait a minute. How can you say, let's spend this money? It's not our money. It's the public's money. And we receive that as helping this fire department operate. Well, in the government, it's the same thing. It's not their money. Never has been. So when you take it down the path of government giving money to people, they get this, there's a big portal, and you're granted $20 million. Doesn't sound like much anymore, but you're granted $20 million. And that $20 million is in this bucket. And they can go in and grab a part of that and use that for an event or an operation. And many times it's very legitimate. But let's say you have a way to be able to basically launder money and give it to somebody that's going to give it to somebody that's going to come back to you, and they keep a part of it. And that goes on, and they get away with it, and then they do it again. And then they do it again. And then they do it again. And this is my point. The fraud that is happening today, the fraud that continues to occur, is scary to say the least. But I want you to see this woman. Her name is Sewell. She's a congressperson. And, I've talked to you about their story, and this is her story. It's not a real story. It's about Act Blue and the fact that there's an investigation going on with Act Blue. And watch what she says. Keep in mind, we already know Act Blue is guilty of many things. And all of them we don't know yet. But we know some of them for fact. They've got evidence of it. Watch this.
This investigation is just one more example of Republicans and President Trump using power of his office to harass and intimidate anyone willing to challenge him. The Trump Department of Justice has used its power to intimidate and victimize communities of color, especially Black Americans. Just look at their targeted harassment of the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization that has worked tirelessly for decades to counter white supremacist organizations. Over and over again, Donald Trump's Department of Justice has harassed Black women with bogus lawsuits. We should not forget their harassment of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors Lisa Cook, their harassment of the New York Attorney General Tish James, and their harassment of our colleague, New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. So it is not surprising that this Republican-led committee is now attacking Act Blue and its CEO, Ms. Wallace Jones.
All right, so Letitia James, I loved it that she brought that up. What a great example. Everybody she told everybody up front that she was running for office and she was going to get Trump. So for an investigation to be going on for Letitia James and what she does and what other activities she's been involved in, it doesn't take much to figure that out, does it? And of course not. It doesn't. But this thing with Act Blue and what she's talking about, she brought up the Southern Public Law event that went on a couple days ago. It was really ugly with Mr. Fair, who is the president and CEO. And then you've got Act Blue. And Act Blue is the largest fundraiser for the Democrat Party. So she comes in, she being Wallace Jones, she's the president of Act Blue, and she came in to testify. But the point is, testifying, I didn't even want to show the video. I'll just show you this. Act Blue CEO invokes Fifth Amendment multiple times in House testimony. Wallace Jones invoked her Fifth Amendment rights not to testify 22 times in response to questions from House Republicans, according to a tally from the New York Times, and has maintained that invoking the Fifth does not indicate she had anything to hide. No, I don't have anything to hide. It's okay. I'm not telling anything that's not true, really. Well, guess what? If you if you she literally was invoking. She got asked a question that was kind of like a, I don't know. We'll call it. Is your name Miss Wallace? And she claimed the fifth, which tells you that they said, no matter what you do not answer these questions. Don't answer anything, because you might say something they can use against you, because you're a criminal. And my job as a lawyer is to protect you from the criminality that you're guilty of. Or we believe you're not guilty, but oh boy, what if the truth comes out? What if you say something that we don't even know about? So just do the fifth. That's where they are. That's what they're doing. And I don't know how we can possibly believe that it's a legitimate program. And I understand the fifth is not saying that you're guilty, because there could be things involved that they can't disclose or whatever. But I've always said, look, if you want to claim that you have to claim the fifth because it's let's call it private information and we can't let out, then say that and say we can't discuss that here. That's what happens when you got governmental investigations going on and they say, I'll answer that, but it has to be in a private sector as a session. That's just what they have to do. So Jasmine Crockett, I've got 2 videos with Jasmine today because she's my favorite. She has to talk about the Southern law, just nuts stuff that happened, and how she claims it's all the Republicans just going after the law firm. Watch this.
The vast majority of the people on that side of the aisle, and for those of you that are at home, let me tell you, when I say that side of the aisle, I'm talking about the Republicans, the ones that brought this hearing. And again, you've heard that this is not the first hearing, but the vast majority of them are white men. White men are lecturing people of color because the vast majority, actually, any semblance of diversity comes from this side of the aisle. You want to tell people of color who is fighting for who? People of color do not feel comfortable or welcomed within your party. That's why you have to parade someone who has the name Dr. King attached to them so that people can be confused, because I have been reading the comments online and people are like, who is this Dr. King? Because you want them to believe that somehow she espouses who Dr. King was, yet you've yet to have MLK the third come in here. You've yet to have Dr. Bernice King, the ones that were actually raised by Dr. King, the ones that actually probably understand the teachings of Dr. King. And I just want to be clear, because I want to talk to y'all about what the Dr. King had to say about racism, so that y'all don't get it twisted and don't get it confused just because you see the name sitting in this room.
Boy, we've got evidence. When Jim Jordan was interviewing Fair from Southern Public Law, I was watching that, and I'm seeing him review all of these items, which he wouldn't be saying this stuff. He, being Jim Jordan, wouldn't be saying these things if he doesn't have some evidence. And they just blow it off like it's nothing. And, the fraud that's going on is really, it's not just out of control. It's stupidly out of control. But the reason this happens is that we no longer have politicians that work for America. We have people who are on agendas. They're put in place by people to stop other people. That's all it is anymore. But there's no negotiations. You're not going to see Newt Gingrich in a negotiation with Tip O'Neill. Those things don't happen anymore because nobody will talk to anybody. So the fraud the things that are going on, the way she's accusing the Republicans of just, retribution. Well, look at this vote that happened to support the idea that fraud in the government has to stop. This is in the House. And look at this vote that happened. On agreeing to the resolution, yay and nay, Republicans, 211. Democrats, 23 yay, 177 nay. Not even supporting, we have to stop fraud to the government, in the government. And 2 were present. And there were 10 that didn't vote. 10. Republicans, there were 7 no votes for Republicans. Now, I will admit there's myriad reasons why there could be no vote type situation, because they couldn't be there, they're sick, they're out of town, they're out of the office, whatever the case is. A few of those can happen. But the bottom line is there were 177 people that said, no, fraud's okay. I think fraud's good. Fraud's the best thing that could possibly happen. And the reason fraud's good is because we're getting the money for all of that. And that's a good thing. Yeah, baby. That's a good thing? Really? Do we want to believe that? And I think the answer is no. But the fraud, okay, when you look at any politician, and I'm going to admit this, it's both sides. When you have a politician that comes into office that's not a Donald Trump, that's not some of the very wealthy people. J.D. Vance is a multi-bazillionaire because of his background in his business. He doesn't need to make money off the government. But the people that come in, Jasmine Crockett, Ilhan Omar, came in, basically her reports were she had nothing. Then all of a sudden she had $30 million. I think it was $18 to $30 million. And then all of a sudden, when she's getting in trouble with that, she's worth $95,000 to $100,000, not $100 million, $100,000 on an update. And nobody should go, oh, wait a minute. What are you talking about here? And what are you talking about is they got to cover it up. That's just what has to happen. I'm pretty confident. I'm very confident that the very people who are supposed to be taking care of our country and be representatives for us, by the way, remember, we call them, Congress people or senators. They're representatives. They're representing your district. That's their whole job. That's it. This isn't rocket science. So they should be representing you. And instead, they're making a bunch of money off of fraud. Speaking of fraud. So we've had, we've had an election in California that right now we've got fishing bass and ramen noodles that are going to be the candidates, 2 Democrats, one more communist than the other, that's going to be running for office in November. They got rid of Spencer Pratt. Got rid of him. He's gone. But he was leading ramen by a ton. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, comes out and she's in the lead. And then they quickly declare she's in it. Do I have any proof that that's not happening? No, I don't. But it's very suspicious. It's like what happened in 2020 with Trump. Michigan shut down their election counting, and they forgot to turn off the cameras. And then we see all kinds of people doing all kinds of things in this election center, and you have to question it. We had a person do that here in Colorado, and she ended up in prison over it. about questioning it and trying to get into the computer systems to see how it was working to investigate. She was an election official trying to do the right thing. Probably could have done it a little differently, but she's out now. But my point is that there's been suspicious things that have happened. So speaking of suspicious and what's really happening in California, check this out. This is a story about Mayor Bass. So the LA Mayor Bass seeks re-election. The brother, her blood and family member sues over Palisade fires, hurting her re-election bid. The brother of Los Angeles mayor is suing the city in connection to the Palisade fires that they allegedly resulted in physically and emotional consequences as his sister continues to face questions about her culpability in the January 2025 fires. Kenneth Bass, he's 78, and his wife filed the lawsuit May 18th, alleging they were injured due to smoke inhalation and suffered distress and anguish. This is Mayor Bass's brother. Two sources with knowledge of Bass's official office said that after receiving an early draft, the mayor told then interim fire chief Ronnie Villanueva that the report could expose the city to legal liabilities for those failures. Listen to this. This is a cover-up. Bass wanted to keep findings about the LAFD, Los Angeles Fire Department's actions, removed or softened before the report was made public. Framers note, idiot brother said he's still voting for her. Now, ladies and germs, I got to tell you, this is, first of all, insane that is happening, that has occurred, that they actually, when you look at this, the brother is suing for the Palisades fire to her own sister, the mayor. But she's getting elected anyway. She's in number one. She's first place. It's gonna happen. Well, first of all, it's going to happen. Some liberal is going to be running LA, and they're going to continue having the problems they've got. Nothing's going to change. And if Steve Hilton happens to win governor, he really doesn't have any control over what happens in the city. He can control some things and keep them from doing some things, but not everything. So how does Bass get elected when she's got all of the problems? She's got the homeless, she's got the drugs, she's got the needles, she's got the piss and poop on the streets. She's got all these things against her. The economy is a mess for them. There's hardly a street you can walk on where it's safe. How can that possibly be? Well, the answer, my friend, is not blowing in the wind. This is a video I found that is stunning. First of all, I tried to confirm, and I'm sure of it. This is not AI. This is a group of people in Skid Row that are saying they got paid to vote for Bass or Rahman. One of the two. One of them said they had a choice, but they were making sure it's going to be a Democrat ballot. Watch this.
You live in Skid Row?
I live in Skid Row.
And then would they come down here and try and pay you to vote?
Yes.
On a ballot?
Yes.
How much they pay you?
$5.
And they said, here, come and vote for these candidates?
Yes, sir.
They told you who to vote for?
Yes.
So they told you to vote for Karen Bass or Cynthia Rahman?
Karen Bass.
Did you vote for Karen Bass?
Yeah.
For $5?
Yeah.
Did you vote?
Yeah.
You did for Karen Bass?
Yeah.
Karen? They told you to vote for Karen?
Yeah. They had to sign a little thing.
And how much they pay you?
It was like $2.
$2? Oh, to sign off on a thing to vote for her?
Yeah.
So they'd say, oh, do you want to vote for Karen or Nithya? Or they just really tell you to vote for Karen, huh?
But it was really voting her, man. They gave you an optional choice, but they tell you who they want you to vote for.
Or they tell you who you want to vote for? It's like, yo, we'll give you $2, but you got to vote for one of these people.
Well, you know, I'm a barterer, man. So I got $4.
And you're like, yo, give me $4 and I'll do it.
Yeah, why not? Shit.
Yeah, so they do this for everybody out here.
Yeah, they come out here all the time.
How often do they come down here?
Probably like 3 times a week.
3 times a week
Hell
to
yeah.
get the ballots.
Yep.
Wow. And so you know other people too that voted too.
Actually, anybody that's registered, dog eat dog.
They registered dog eat dog. Okay, just to keep in mind that where they are in Skid Row, where their tent is or their little tarp where they live, there's no mailbox. So they voted. First of all, they're brilliant negotiators. That one guy said, I'm a barterer. I got $4 to commit a crime. I got $4. I mean, what? Are you kidding me? No, we're not kidding, but this is how insane this is. So, first of all, there's people that's actually admitting that they're getting paid to vote. Secondly, they're using ballots, they being whoever's coming in and paying this money out. They're bringing ballots in for them to sign. Come on, think about this. I don't know how you cannot be just blown away by this. They literally have the ability to walk in with a ballot, pay him a couple, $4 or $5, get him to sign, and he goes, yeah, what the heck? What the heck? Because they don't believe they're ever going to get out of this mess that they're in. And they're scared to death that a Republican will get in charge and they'll be asked to actually work. Because those people could work. They're able to move around. They're able to do stuff. They could do the things. When everybody says, well, the white people won't do what the Mexicans will do. Well, those people could go do it. They could work, but they don't want to. I'm not going to work, man. That's not going to happen. It's just, it's everything that's wrong with American voting right now. And the SAVE Act is so important. It's so very important. How are we ever going to manage to get this to happen? Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder what the possibilities are. But, maybe we'll get there. Maybe sooner or later, people will decide, yeah, we got to do the right thing. Take a real quick break here. I want to be able to talk about our friends at Rumble Wallet. And, Rumble Wallet has shown up on the scene here, and it's something important to know. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part that most parts of people don't miss, and that's crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels like it might be complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and makes it simple. So choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creator, like me, directly. So do it now. Scan the QR code that you see now on the screen. Sign that. Meant to pop that up for you. Click on this QR code. There you go. And sign up for Wallet. Wallet is really the way to go here. It gives you opportunities. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. Thank you, Rumble Wallet. These guys have come up with a way to do things. They're amazing. They're amazing with what they've done with Rumble. So jump in on it and be part of it. So 2 final things. One is this whole thing about Jasmine Crockett. I mentioned to you I had 2 different videos with her. Now I want to show you the stupidity, the insanity of Jasmine. Now, she's not going to be around much longer because she got beat in the primary. But this is just too entertaining to let go. Watch this.
They are not confused. They just stupid. They just don't know what they're doing. We need to send the Republicans back to elementary school so that they can get the basics. The most educated demographic in this country right now is Black women. The same very people that built this country, because the last time I checked, y'all didn't say that anything was wrong with the White House, and I can promise you it was my ancestors that built the White House. So Trump is corrupt. Okay. End of story. Like, he is corrupt, and so are every single Republican that sits in the House. President Biden is head and shoulders above Trump in every single way, especially when it comes to someone who absolutely avoids being a criminal. We look at the anti-Semitism, when we look at the Islamophobia in this country, it is being perpetuated by the MAGAs.
Most Black people are not Republicans simply because we just is like, y'all racist. I can't hang out with the KKK in them.
And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
They try to act like, oh, political violence, it's the Democrats and it's the liberals. And it's like, actually, I mean, I'm not going to say that like a left-leaning person cannot be violent, because that would be like crazy to say that somebody can't be. But baby, y'all got the white supremacists galore, okay? Like, all of them. You got the Proud Boys. You got the neo-Nazis. Y'all are violent. Like, right. Y'all, and most of your violence has to do with people that's got a little bit of melanin.
Wow. After you watch that, you just think to yourself, how did we get here? How do we have somebody that's in office? Rashida Tlaib, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, socialist, communist, terrorists. I could show you, I could do a 1-hour show just on terrorist actions by protesters, and I would dare you to go into that crowd and find a Republican. And to say blacks don't vote Republican and they're not part of the Republican Party because they don't want to be part of KKK? Do you understand who started the KKK? It was the Democrats. Just stop. Go to Grok. Go to GTP. Go to any of the AI sources and just say or type, hey, Grok, who started KKK? I think you probably will be able to get an answer really quick. I know you will. And when you get that quick answer, you're going to say, well, that's a lie. And then go to ChatGPT and you go, hey, who started the KKK? Oh, wait a minute. Let's go to Microsoft Copilot. That's a good one. And because they're liberals. Who started KKK? Oh. Who stopped slavery? Who went after slavery? A Republican. This is another example of the press suppressing the truth. And the people who aren't educated, that don't follow things, that don't understand, you're going to always look stupid when you say things like that. Final little story. Baseball, I used to love playing baseball. I'm not a guy that watches a lot of baseball. It's a little boring. There's some really good games out there. But, there's always the ball guys and the ones that stand along the foul line that's at the crowd. They've got a mitt on. They try to protect people sometimes when a foul ball goes in. Well, there's an old guy, 70, I think he was 70, he's 77. And he's been there at the game as a ball boy, but he's not a boy anymore. And they caught this on video. This is just classic. Once a baseball player, always a baseball player.
Hit foul of the batter.
And that might be the play of the year for the Ball Dudes. Left Brown getting it done. And Left, who is 77 years old, still has got game. Barrel roll. Oh, Left, you are the man.
Don't you love that? I see that and I just think to myself, man, 77. He's older. He's not as let's say he's not as fluid as he used to be. Goes down for the ball, but he got it. And of course, he's down along the first base line because left-handers. I'm a left guy. Left-handers got that glove in the right hand, and you're right out there to get it. He did it. Good for him. Wow. All right. That's all for the show for today. Hey, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Do me a favor. If you haven't already done it, click the like button, subscribe to the show, tell your friends. I need to build this, and we're working hard to do that. We'll see you tomorrow. It's Friday tomorrow. It's a big day. We're going to have a lot of news for you. So until then, rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the FramersView Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.